So we did have to get a bigger miter saw stand. The one we had was too small. We went with the Harbor Freight Hercules miter saw stand. And today we're going to assemble it. So what I've done, I've got everything laid out to begin assembly on. The Harbor Freight Hercules miter stand. It is very heavy. I don't know what the exact weight of the stand is, but it's rated for up to 500 and some odd pounds. So that's a very strong miter stand. So in the instruction book, the first thing they're showing is to lay the stand upside down, press the lock pin handle on one leg, and lift the leg up until it locks in the up position. And I'll see how high it is, but it may be too high in order for me to work on it on this picnic table. So it's real easy here to release this with this lock pin handle. From what I'm seeing, it's just one easy movement. And again, I'm working with just one good hand here. Doc says I shouldn't be lifting or pushing or pulling anything. So we're going to do this kind of easy. Take our time and get her done. Okay, so we've done that. It says the next step is to turn it upright and make sure all the lock pins are locked. And we'll see if I can do that. And the picnic table wasn't quite wide enough. So we're going to have to actually set it on the ground here. And you can see a very pretty stand, and it matches the miter saw very well. And for some reason with this one, it's kind of following the instruction book. And it says you can, one of these legs here is a leveler, and you can adjust. I'm not going to adjust it here because I'm going to be taking it in the shop anyway. Now I guess the next thing is to put the wheel on. And wheel assembly. There's the axle. You got all your nuts and bolts in one bag. Real nice. And another thing I buy at Harbor Freight are these screw cups. They're magnetic and they hold all the screws in place. I really like to use those. Of course, our stand is aluminum, so it's not going to stick to it. There's a bracket that holds your saw in place on the back side here. See if I can show that a little better. Right there, that bracket there holds your saw in place when it's on there, and that way you always get your saw in the same position. And this piece here holds the axle, and it's going to go on the opposite side of where that bracket is and where your handle goes. You're going to have 4 screws and 4 nuts for this. And they're the shorter screws that are in your bag. And you need an Allen to assemble that portion. And it is metric, so you need a metric Allen. And I guess what I'm getting at, if I can do this with one hand, shouldn't be anybody can do it. And they've got a access hole in this side plate, so it makes it easier to get to that nut. And you know, if I had 2 hands, it'd be really easy. And of course, it's a 10 millimeter. And if you don't have one handy, go look around somewhere. I'm sure someone's lost one. Look in your engine compartment on your vehicle. That's where I usually lose mine. I'm using a little ratchet open-end wrench. I'm using a ratchet open-end wrench 10 millimeter. And it's making it easier for me to do. And then when I'm all done with these, I'll go ahead and tighten them up. I'm sure nobody wanted to watch me struggle getting those bolts in place. Right now I'm putting the last one on, so my doctor seen me. I had probably get a good talking to. Bad enough my wife's going to see this. So. Okay, so that does the axle mount. And next is going to be the axle. And if you've watched any of the other reviews, which are okay, these are solid rubber tires. And this whole thing is very sturdy. And I do believe I've got enough room to put a washer in between the tires and the mount itself. So I'm going to check that out, see if I've got a couple washers that'll work. Looks like there's plenty of room. It turns out I did have a couple extra washers. So I'm going to go ahead and put a washer in there as well. Is on the outside. Just, you know, to prevent a little bit. And then what you want to do is tighten both ends of this axle. And these are lock nuts, but you know you want to have good spin on your wheels. Okay, once you got the wheels on, then the next thing it's calling for is the workpiece supports and the handle. And this other one goes in there. And the reason for that is because it's actually the stand when you have it on the wheels. You can actually take this and stand it out of the way when not using it. And that's a big thing. A lot of people don't have room in their shop for everything in the world. And what it's going to do, it's going to go in with these feet pointing out away from the stand itself. And that's going to give you a resting place for it. And I really like the way this clamps. It's much better than my other one was. And then this one will go on the other side. Same kind of thing. And you have two screws that will go in as a stop for those material supports. And once you put your support through, it's going to go right here, and that will keep your supports from coming out. When you're transporting it. on the other side, so. And it wouldn't be near as hard to do this if I had two good hands right now, so I don't. And I'm just using an Allen wrench. I could use, electric screwdriver to put this together, but I'm not in a big rush. And you just snug them up. And that keeps your material support from falling out when you're transporting it. And you do the same on the other side. But this time we're going to be on the inside, so a little bit different. And once that screw catches, it goes right in. And it's actually screwing into the rubber foot on that material support. And that's going to go right there with the handle pointing down. And once again, you've got your washer and your nut. That will go on there. I didn't show all the struggles, like dropping every nut and washer that I came in contact with. I'll tighten these screws here, and they are locking nuts, so that's a good thing. They should not come loose. And you're actually squeezing a portion of the handle together as well when you tighten this, so it's good and sturdy. I like that. My other one had a little bit of a wobble to it, but it worked. Okay, then I guess the last thing are your saw mounts. And we'll open these up. And I'm really impressed with these for a couple of reasons. They actually give us mounting screws for your miter saw, and there's a nut already built inside this, and it slides back and forth, so it doesn't matter which miter saw you have, it's adjustable. The other thing is we have feet, so you can take your miter saw off the stand and set it on a workbench. I really like that. My other stand did not have that on its mounts. And a big issue with the Hercules miter saw, and you may have seen it in these reviews, people are having to finagle washers and so forth to mount their saw to these brackets. And that's really amazing because, number one, the saw tells you you don't have to do that. They're also putting the warning label on the mount. You don't have to finagle or manufacture something to go around those feet. Okay, now, real simple. You start with the left one. The reason I'm saying that is there's that bracket right here. And that lines you up. You snap right in place. So that's it. That's the Hercules miter saw stand. Like I said earlier, it is a heavy stand. So remember, I'm working with only one hand here. Lay it down. There you go. It's on wheels. And there it is, right where I'm going to be using it most of the time. You won't want to miss part 3, where we'll calibrate and use the saw and see just how accurate it is. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check us out on Blogspot, Facebook, Google+, and Pinterest. And you can email us at badlandswoodenstuff@rivers.com. Stop back and see us again soon.